Hi, everyone. I want to welcome you today. It's like we have a really exciting episode of Beauty Superstars Talk. We are talking to the beauty accountant, and her name is Brandi Fulton. So I'm excited that we're going to have a slightly different format where we're just going to do a lot of questions and what we need to know, what she thinks we need to know, and what you'd like to know. So if you are joining us live, to please go ahead and drop in the comment section some of your questions that you might like for us to ask. And we're going to do our very best to try to get to all of them, which I'm not even sure it's going to fit into this time frame, but we are going to do our best. My name is Miki Wright. I want to welcome you to Beauty Superstars Talk. It's your backstage pass to experts in beauty. And I am a what am I? It's like I'm a business funding expert and pricing strategist. My background's in the beauty industry, have great love for the beauty industry, and I really want to see us be able to thrive in this industry. I know there's a lot of people kind of in survival mode, kind of working, several jobs to try to keep up with the business, but there's so much opportunity. And sometimes it's just a matter of knowing what we don't know to put our business in order. And so that's why I'm excited about today. Today is like I liken to, you get stopped for a speeding ticket for speeding or what have you. It's like the police officer comes over and says, you were doing 65 and a 55 or what have you, and here's a ticket. And it's like, wow, I never saw the sign. It's like the last sign I saw was like 65 and they don't care. It's like you're still responsible for keeping up with it,
Right.
even if you didn't see it. And it's like that with our business. There's some things that we need to know that we're responsible for, even if we don't know that we're responsible for them.
Right.
And there are consequences when we don't know. So, welcome, Brandi. Come help us out.
Yes, so thank you so much for having me. My name's Brandi Fulton. I am a master tax accountant, so I have my bachelor's and master's in accounting and finance. And my main item is taxes that we do, income taxes, corporate taxes, payroll taxes. I am the tax lady, and also known as the beauty accountant. So I work specifically with people in the beauty industry, and my love and passion for the beauty industry came from my husband. He's a barber who owns a barber shop. So just helping him out with his finances and taxes, it helped me understand that there was a need in this industry for an accountant that can, help with the language and the behavior and understanding and breaking down the importance of just the basics of the finances and the budgeting and understanding what a financial statement is instead of just, saying like, hey, go file your taxes, breaking down the taxes to you. Why do we need to be doing these things? Um, but yeah, so that is who I am. Of course, we'll go into more details, but my love and passion is taxes and more specifically in the beauty industry.
Awesome. And we need people like you because I actually have a sister who loves doing taxes and has lots of credentials and all of that kind of
Mhm.
stuff. And I'm like, you love that? What? It's like, how does that work? Okay.
Yeah.
I even like numbers, but it's
Right.
like it's
Yeah.
a little overwhelming sometimes,
It
especially
can
for us
be.
creative folks. So
Hmm.
we're happy that your husband's a barber and that got you really passionate about the industry and helping us in particular. And so my first question for you is, well, actually, let me just start with just saying something because I want to hear your thoughts on it.
Okay.
But I hear a lot of people in the industry, I've been in the industry a really long time, more than 30 years. And, this person, I work at a salon. It's like they're taking my money. And, it's like there's all these different thoughts that we have about our money.
Right.
And my thought is you can't keep it all. It's like
Yeah.
it doesn't matter where you work, it doesn't matter how
Yeah.
you set up your business or what have you. There's rent, there's insurance, there's
Hmm.
taxes, there may be commissions, there may be, a lot of other expenses that
Hmm.
come into play. And how do we shift our mindset into more of a business mindset that this is money that's coming into the business versus this is my money and it's going in my
Right.
pocket. And if anybody
Right.
tries to get in the way, it's like I'm upset.
Hmm. So it really just it depends on the person because I actually did a class this year on like the mindset of finances.
Mhm.
But a lot of people just think because I opened this business, I'm the owner, is my money. And it's not like that. Like the business has its own EIN number, which is its own entity now. The IRS looks at it as completely separate from you. So you have to really separate it out. I know we don't want to feel like we work for other people, but I always just tell people to like to think you are still a worker within your business. So you can't say like, okay, yes, you did, as a stylist make 10,000, 20,000 this month, but how much of that money belongs to the business and then how much did you pay you as the owner? So kind of just separating that out because it's going to help you honestly in every and any aspect. But it's just again, it's that mental capacity because depending on how you're taxed, you're not going to get you're going to get taxed based off of, what it is that the business makes and then what it is that you make. So we just want to make sure we have that differentiation of the business money and then whatever it is you pay yourself is your money. So, kind of having that separation of the two. Yes, you did do the service to create the income, but it's still not technically your money. It's the business money and you own the business. So
Right.
a lot of people kind of, just have to get out of that mental mind state of like, okay, I own a business, all of this is mine. Because that's going to take us down a path that we don't want to go down.
Okay, okay. So tell us a little more about that because I've already got a couple questions just based on what you just shared. But tell us what are some of the consequences if we don't start to make that mindset shift?
So one of the first ones is not separating out business and personal. And again, you don't know what you don't know. So a lot of people hustle bustle when I first start my business. You have just that one account that you were already taking money through. So I'm just going to stick with that. But it is legally required that you have a separate account to be able to operate your business. The business has that EIN, you have to get a separate bank account. The bank account has to say Fulton's Accounting Services. It can't say Brandi Fulton and be that checking account that your mom opened when you was 4 years old that you never used. So that's like the first step of just getting that business bank account. So when you go to the bank, they're going to ask for that EIN number letter that you got from the IRS. They're going to ask for your state articles of incorporation. They may ask for your operating agreement and then also just like the deposit amount of to be able to open the account. So that's the first step is separating that income. So now the money from Acuity, Regarvo, Stripe, PayPal all goes into this business account. And then when it's time to pay you, regardless of if you're doing a draw or payroll, that's going to go in that personal account. So just making sure we have the separation of the two. The money comes into the business account, and then we can go ahead and pay for our rent, pay for our supplies, pay for our advertising, our accountant, our professional fees from that business account. Same thing with the credit card. I know a lot of times we need money to be able to start our business. A lot of people use their personal credit cards and loans to help get it funded. But we want to keep that separated out if possible, to be able to get that business credit card in the business name, the business loan in the business name. Because again, if you're ever audited, the IRS can say yes or no.
Mm.
No, you're not eligible to do that because you're using a personal account. I don't care if you're just a new business starting out. You passed by that 65 speed limit, and even though you didn't see it, they're kind of the same way. Even though you didn't know it, even though you didn't get an accountant to 3 years later on, it's still your responsibility as a business owner to know these things when you set up a business. So, that is definitely like the first step that we need to do. And I have met business owners, again, unintentionally, that are 3, 4, 5, 7 years in and still using a personal account. So we just want to make sure that we do that because we don't want the IRS come and dig in. Once they go digging, they find stuff and they'll go back years and years and years because in their eyes, you owe them some money based off of what they can find.
Okay. That is really good information. And I've done some different things in finance, but it's like about a year, 2 years ago, I think it's like I started working with business funding and having that available for people, which is, I'm super excited about that. And one of the things that came up, even with people that I've worked with, that, it's like that wasn't the part that we coached on or what have
Mhm.
you. Um, they don't have a separate business account. And one of the things that I find is like the mental thing or mindset thing is that they have to have an LLC. And I know depending on the type of business, most beauty businesses, having an LLC is
Mhm.
good because there's some protections that come
Mhm.
along with it. But I wanted to put out there and kind of get your feedback as well. A sole proprietor is a legal entity, and you can get an EIN as a sole proprietor and open up your business checking account and
Mhm.
separate those funds
Yeah,
without having to have an LLC.
the state
I want
registration part.
to say that again.
Yeah, without having to have that state registration part. So there's two steps to becoming a like an LLC.
Mhm,
The first step is getting that EIN number.
mhm,
That's through the IRS, so that's your business social security number. And then the second step is actually registering in the state that you'll be operating in. So a lot of people, like you said, think that they can't get an EIN number until they register in the state. But if you're going to be still operating under your if you're going to be operating under another name, but you don't want to create the actual separate entity, you can still go into the IRS website, apply as a sole proprietor. You can create a different name. They'll assign your EIN. And then when it's time to file your taxes, you'll be able to put that business name, that EIN, but it just won't be separate when we do the state side. There is not a separate entity for that part because you don't have that legal separation at the state level. But yes, you can still do that. I always advise people who do more like consulting work or if you're just like, a lot of people are like, well, this is just my hobby. I don't know. I'm not too sure. If you're filling out a lot of W-4 forms and doing like consulting work, the W-4 form has your social security number on there, which means that more people are able to see it. I advise getting like an EIN number, to be able to do that. Because now when they issue you that 1099 form, it has the EIN in that sole proprietor name instead of giving two, three, seven different businesses your social security number and your name, right? Just again, keeping your personal information separate.
mhm.
Um, but I have seen that as well too. So you can still do that as well.
Okay, okay. And then just to clarify, it's like maybe I start out, like you say, kind of more as a hobby, and I'm not totally sure, but I want to
Mhm.
separate everything. So
Mhm.
I get a set up a sole proprietorship, and whatever that entails for my county, city, state, or what have you,
Yep.
and oh, get an EIN from IRS and go and open a business account. Further along, I'm making more money, and everything is changing.
Hmm.
So maybe I want to get an LLC
Hmm.
and I have to open up a new bank account with the LLC's EIN. Is that accurate?
You actually can keep that EIN number. So you can keep
Yeah.
that EIN number if you want to change the name. I always tell people it's easier to change the name than to change your EIN. So if you
Oh,
already had that bank account like open and established under B. Fulton's Consulting, and
hmm
you're like, okay, it's 2 years later, I don't really like that name, I'm going to get it established. You already still have that EIN number. You call the IRS and just say, hey, here's my EIN number. I would like to do a name change. They can do it over the phone. You fill out a form. You
hmm
still have that EIN number. You take it to your bank. They will allow you to adjust the name on the account. And then when it's time to go open up and register at the state level, you just give them that new name and then that EIN that you already had. So a lot of times with the EIN change, you don't have to completely start over because that EIN already has some longevity, some life to it.
hmm
And it's easier to change the name than to cut everything down and completely stop. Because what if you already had, like I said, the business account set up, you may have had some business funding already in this business name,
hmm
instead of
Right.
just giving the documents to show that it's just a name change versus a completely different new business.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. Really good information.
Yeah.
Really good. So we're talking about kind of getting started. Are there some other steps that we need to be kind of putting in place or thinking about? When you see that person that comes in 3, 5, 7 years later,
Right,
wish
right.
they knew before.
The other bigger things that I see is just the bookkeeping part. A lot of people don't keep up with bookkeeping. Unintentionally, again, a lot of people don't understand exactly what bookkeeping is. They think they need an accountant to do that or a bookkeeper. But bookkeeping is just the process of keeping up with your financials. So no matter if you can hire a bookkeeper or if you have to wear that hat, which most of people do when they first start out of
Mhm,
being a bookkeeper, it is required that you keep up with those finances. So because now we have that business bank account, we're able to keep everything separated out from our personal. So all of your income should be coming in that bank account, and then all of your expenses should be coming out of that account as well.
mhm,
Um, I always tell people, you can start out if it's a few transactions a month, you can start out in like an Excel spreadsheet. Excel spreadsheet show income, put your some amount, and then by category, supplies, rent, inventory, consultant fees, XYZ. Put it on there, and now you have a record of, okay, for January, here's how much I made, here's how much I spent. February, here's how much I made, here's how much I spent. Because when it's time to file taxes, I'm going to be like, hey, Brandy, send me over your business profit and loss sheet, or fill this out based off of your business income and your expenses. You already had that spreadsheet that's already organized where you can say, okay, for the year I made X amount. For the year I spent X amount on supplies and inventory and rent. And then that's what we need to file your taxes. Most of the people don't do that. And then it's tax time and they're like, oh my God, I gotta go through 12 months of bank statements. I gotta find some receipts that I pay stuff in cash. Or I went to the hair store and they don't give out receipts. So I gotta figure out that part. So it's a lot of like taxes are already overwhelming, but it gets more overwhelming when you're not keeping up with your finances before the season. So just keeping up with that, like I said, in Excel if you're in a space where it's like, okay, Excel is getting a little too manual for me, I don't have time to keep up with it. I personally recommend QuickBooks. QuickBooks is a software system where you can sign up, you link your business bank account. Again, this is why the account is needed. And it pulls in all those transactions. And then you would tell QuickBooks, hey, this is rent, this is supplies, this is accounting fees, this is income, this is travel, and it builds that financial statement for you. And then all you have to do is go to the report section, run the report, and it has it for you for your if you need to go get a loan, they're going to ask for that. If you have to file your taxes, they're going to ask for that.
Mhm.
So it's a separate report that's helpful. But yes, please keep up with your bookkeeping. You don't need to be making a gazillion dollars to hire a bookkeeper. It doesn't matter if you made $1,000 or $100,000. You need to be keeping up with that bookkeeping because again, if the IRS comes and question you or audit you, they're going to ask about that. And then when we file your taxes, we also need that information.
Okay.
Yeah.
So no shoe boxes full
No
of
shoe boxes of receipts, no trash bags of receipts. Yeah, so and it happens. And again, with QuickBooks, what you can do is you can take a picture of your receipt and you can upload it to QuickBooks to save and connect to that transaction for you. So now you don't have to keep those receipts because after a while those receipts start to fade. So if
Yeah.
you hold on to stuff for 2, 3, 4 years, I'm not gonna be able to read it. I'm not, first of all, I'm not going through it, but I'm not gonna be able to read it if you bring it to my office.
Okay, got it, got it. Yeah, it's like years ago, it's like I went to an accountant and I don't even know what was going on, but you're all, crazy
Uh-huh.
and flustered and, trying to get it together or whatever. And, I was sitting talking with him and he's like, bring me the bag full of all the
Oh
unopened
my
mail that
goodness.
you have.
I
And
can
it's
only
like, how did you
imagine.
know I had some unopened mail?
Mm-hmm.
Because I was like,
Yeah.
you see the letters and it's like, oh, well, I don't know what to
Mm-hmm.
do with that. So I'll just put it over
Mm-hmm.
here for now. And it's like, they were all together and
Yeah.
I brought them in, but it's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
and QuickBooks, tell us about the different kinds of QuickBooks because I know that they've evolved, as things have gotten more digital and all that kind of
Mm-hmm.
stuff. So what do we need as, smaller business owners and what do
Yeah, for
we need
me,
if
QuickBooks Online is the only one that I use. They do have like desktop, and I think they're trying to get rid of the desktop one.
we want?
But it's like QuickBooks Desktop and QuickBooks Online. I personally only recommend the QuickBooks Online one. And then you don't need anything fancy. They have like the self-employed one, and then the next one would be like the Simple Start package. I automatically tell people to just register with the Simple Start because the self-employed one is really that's that hobby phase. But it's difficult to it's a
Trans.
lot of work to transition over when it's time for your business to like when it's actually grown, we need more functionality. That one is just very straightforward. I'm just starting out. But I always just tell people I'd rather you start out at the simple start package. That way the data is already there. We don't have to switch it over. Sometimes it deletes the old data and we don't want that to happen. So the simple start package, I think it's like $30, $35 a month.
Okay.
But that's the one that, I recommend. They do have other settings as well too. Like I said, you can save your receipts on there. That comes with that package. There's a mileage tracker. So for the girls who are traveling to go, to travel for conferences, to meet with clients, to go get supplies, you can keep your mileage tracker in there. They have a budget report, not the best, but it's there. Um, they have payroll. I personally don't recommend their payroll, but it's an option if you want that as well. You can do invoicing through there. Again, with my beauty clients, I would rather you guys stick with like Square, Acuity, Stripe, PayPal, because it has better functionality for the beauty industry in those
No.
versus like in QuickBooks. But if there's like a one-off of like, hey, a speaking engagement, and they're asking you for an invoice, you can go in there, send an invoice, through there.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, they try to make it all in one stop shop for you to be able to do everything in there. But as you do more, you'll probably need to be consulting with an accountant at that point because it can get overwhelming. But yeah, I like QuickBooks more so for the monthly bookkeeping purpose because it has those functionalities of being able to look at your balance sheet, your cash flow statement, your profit and loss statement, your accountant. When it is time for you to hire an accountant, I can have my own login, my access. I can see those numbers. I can see the prior data. I have people who have had it since 2010, 2015, where we can do a year-over-year analysis to see how your business has grown. So it's very helpful with that.
Awesome. Okay. And you have been talking about these reports and you named off a few of them, but what are the ones that are kind of key to running our business that we should be, getting on top of, or at least
Mhm.
finding out what is it?
Right. So the main report, and you'll probably hear 99.9% of people talking about is your profit and loss statement. So your profit and loss statement will show your income that your business makes and then all of your expenses. So at the top, it'll show all gross income. So you can separate it how you want. If you are doing hair and then you also teach classes and you also sell products, we can break it out as detailed as you want to show, okay, services income, class income, inventory income, and then that's your gross sales. So whatever you make before you spend any money is called gross income. So that's your
Okay.
gross income. If you hear anybody ask you what your gross income is, or if you're like, if you see like a post on social media, I hit my $1 million mark. Most of the time, people are talking about their gross income of what they made before their expenses.
Mhm.
And then expense wise is all of your deductible business expenses, your rent, your travel, your conferences, your education, your inventory, your supplies, your accounting fees, your lawyer fees, your mentorships. All of those items are considered an expense, which reduces your taxable income. So the IRS doesn't give you any money for spending money in your business. I know it sounds funny, but I have had that questions a lot of times of, okay, how much money do I get back if I spent X amount? Is no, you made 100,000 in gross income. Your expenses were 75,000. The difference of the two is the $25,000 net profit. So your net profit is what you have left over after your expenses, and then that's what you're going to get taxed on. So if you go and file your taxes, you're going to get taxed on your net profit. If you go and apply for a loan, they're going to look at gross income versus net profit. Um, so there is a difference between the two, but that is probably one of the most important reports as a new business owner, that you'll be able to see. And then as your business starts to evolve and grow, there's something called a balance sheet, which shows the overall equity of the business. So now we're looking at the money you have in the bank account, your assets, how much you have in cash, accounts receivable, your intellectual property, your patents, your copyrights, your trademarks. How much do you owe other people? You have loans, you have credit cards, you have debt, and then the total amount of that, plus any additional if you're doing any personal transactions that are not on the um, profit and loss statement will show up on here. And then again, it looks at the overall equity of your business. So yes, your profit and loss statement shows your net income, but how equitable is your business? And that shows on the balance sheet part. And usually when you're S corp, you're paid attention to that a little bit more because it's used to file your taxes.
Okay. Okay. So that's really good to know.
Yeah.
And you touched on another thing, like the getting money back. You like when you're
Mhm.
an employee,
Mhm.
your employer is matching and they're putting in taxes for you. You're putting in taxes for you all year. And then when you do your filing, it's like sometimes you get a refund and everybody's
Yep.
like, woo,
Mhm.
free money. But it's like already our money.
Right.
But when we do, start our business, at what point do we need to start looking at doing quarterly filings?
So honestly, whenever your business is profitable and you So the IRS requires you to make quarterly tax payments if your payment is going to be over $1,000. Now, you as a beauty professional would probably be like, okay, well, how the heck am I going to know when I owe over $1,000, right? Again, this is why the bookkeeping is important because when you're keeping up with your finances on a quarterly basis, this is when you probably need to consult with your tax accountant because we'll do a quarterly tax return for you to say, okay, here's your here's your income based off of your profit, here's how much you're owed. But anytime that business goes from a break even or a loss to an actual profitable business, again, that net profit amount, I will reach out to a tax accountant to be able to look at that because it depends on a lot of different factors. But if you're like single, no kids, no spouse, by yourself, you're going to get taxed like immediately, based off of your net profit versus if you're somebody who has two dependents and you're by yourself or two dependents and you follow a spouse, it may be a little bit more that you can waive on that. But I would just say based off of your net profit, once you see that profit number grow, I would
Hmm.
just reach out to, a tax accountant to look at that. We can prepare a quarterly tax return for you and let you know how much you owe federal and state wise, and then you'll be able to go and pay for that. So it's not a exact number on when you need to file, it's just more so of when your business is profitable.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. And you mentioned the IRS saying $1,000. Is that you would owe $1,000 for the year or $1,000 for that quarter?
Yeah, so the IRS, if you owe them more than $1,000 for the year, they require you to make quarterly payments because IRS is greedy. They
For the
want their
year.
money when you make money. So if you ever, anybody that's listening, if you have ever filed your taxes and you have a bill that's over $1,000, you probably don't notice, but you're getting penalized. It's something called the underpayment penalty. And the
Uh,
IRS charges this because they're saying you made more money throughout the year. You knew you had to pay us more in taxes. You neglected to do that. So we're going to penalize you for it. So it's something on there, for the underpayment penalty on your tax return.
again, even if you didn't know.
Even if you didn't know, like,
Right.
okay, I didn't realize my job wasn't taking out enough, or so a lot of people, what I see is they don't pay quarterly taxes. They keep it in like a savings account. And then when we file their taxes, they're like, okay, yeah, I owe $12,000. I have it in the savings account. I'll just pay it. I
Mm,
always just say, I'm glad you were able to do that, but we need to pay those quarterly taxes because they still penalize you for it. They don't give you any cookies or a ribbon because you saved that money and paid it on time. They want that money throughout the year. So they're like, okay, yeah, you can pay us right now, but you're also going to pay this penalty because you neglected to pay us throughout the year. The
okay,
IRS doesn't like to get paid during tax season time. They want to get paid throughout the year.
okay. Like the rest of us,
Unfortunately, it's like
right?
the rest of us. So if you owe them, more than $1,000, they're going to penalize you for that.
Okay. Okay. That is all really good to know.
Yeah.
Now, I had a question to come in on this BOI, and I'm
Mm,
not even totally clear on what it is, but I have heard about it, and I
mm,
asked to ask you. It's
okay.
the beneficial ownership information filing requirement.
Yeah.
What in the world is
So
that?
this is a new requirement that started this year, January 2024, and it is required for all business owners, no matter if you started your business this year or if your business has been established. It's a financial database to have a record of all businesses that are registered in the United States. So if your business started prior to 2024, you have until January 2025 to go ahead and file, and it's very simple. I don't do the filing just because that's more on the legal side than the accounting side, and my insurance doesn't cover that. But I most of my clients that went on there, they said it's very simple. Just business, your name, address, like business information. Do you own the business by yourself? Is there a joint owner? But they need some type of database to have for all businesses registered. Me personally, what I think it is because of the PPP loan, because a lot of people, popped up with all these businesses during the pandemic, and
Yeah.
they didn't have a database to say, yes, this is a legit business or not. So me personally, that's my theory. What I think that's why they're doing it. In the event that like something like that happens again, they can go ahead and say, okay, well, you never registered back in 2024 for your business, so you're going to get penalized for trying to get some type of, relief in the future if that was to happen. If you don't do it by January 2025, I believe it's a $500 per day penalty. So you want to get on it ASAP. And
Wow.
if your business was registered in 2024, you have 90 days from when your business gets
Mm,
registered. So any new businesses registered as of January 1st, 2024, you have 90 days. Any business registered before 2024, you have until January 2025. I don't know the exact date, but I would
okay.
say just do it now.
Right,
For
right.
every business you have, so any separate entity, EIN number you have
Uh-huh.
to do a separate registration for it,
For each one.
for
Okay.
each one that's active. So if you have a business that you create it and you're not operating under, you don't know if it's still active or not, go check on it, because if it's still showing active in like your state's portal, like here in Pennsylvania, we don't have an annual registration. So you can start a business and you don't have to pay an annual, fee for it. So you can have a business that you created 10 years ago, never used it, but it's still shown as active. You
Oh,
want to check on that, because if not, it's going to come up in the database of this active business in the state of Pennsylvania, and you're going to get penalized for it. So you just want to make sure it's for all your businesses that you have ever been registered with,
oh,
by yourself and with somebody else.
wow.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's sole proprietor, LLC, and corporations.
Corporation, yes.
All of the above.
All the above. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. We need to know this. It's like I
Yeah.
saw it
Yeah.
somewhere, but it definitely went.
Yeah, it's new. It's new, and the year has flown by, but you have to do it before January or you get penalized for it.
Okay. So
Yeah.
everybody, when you're watching this, just jump off and
You
where do
go
we
and do
go to
it. I heard
find
it takes
it? Just
five to
Google
seven
it.
minutes. It doesn't take long. Yeah, and I can
Okay.
even like give you the website so you can post it
Okay.
with the podcast, but it is legally required. So don't they're not asking for any tax documents. They're not asking for a letter from your accountant or CPA. They're just asking for the basic information of who you are, your address, your contact information, and then the business. Where's the
Yeah.
business registered? Who owns the business? Again, it's just a database. Now, what they're going to do with it in the future, I don't know if it's going to be like an annual requirement or things
Mm,
like that. They haven't released the information, but at least this first step of getting registered on there is due for any business before 2024 is due in January. Any new business created in 2024 is due 90 days from that registration date.
wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Really good,
Yes.
good question.
Yeah, that
So,
was a good question, because I get a lot of messages about that from my clients asking if they need to do it or not.
oh, okay. So we
Yeah.
all need to do it.
Everybody needs to do it. There are some, I mean, when you log on there are some specific industries that are excluded out.
Hmm.
But for all my beauty clients, you need to go and do
Okay.
it.
You heard it here.
Yeah,
So
they're not excluded.
we've got to go, got to do it. So, um, let's see. I've got all these different questions. And one thing that comes up sometimes is that we haven't filed our taxes.
Hmm.
So what do we do if we're behind? It's like, we feel, a lot of times I hear shame, I hear
Yeah,
a lot of different
yeah, yeah,
emotions that keep us from actually even taking the step to go ahead and
yeah.
start the
Um,
process.
if you're behind, I mean, my philosophy with taxes and finances is very overwhelming. If it's not your passion, you didn't go to school for it. I can understand why it's neglected, because it's like me trying to do my hair,
Okay.
or do my lashes. Like I don't know what the heck I'm doing, so I'm just gonna wait until I go to a professional to get it done. Um, but I say all that to say, like, just because taxes and death are like the two things that are like
Mhm.
it's gonna happen regardless, right? So a lot of people will either push it under the rug or don't want to do it because they're either embarrassed or ashamed. They know they're gonna owe some taxes. And what I see a lot of times is people wait and then they get into a situation where they need their taxes and then try to rush it and do it. It becomes overwhelming. When you're applying for a loan, when you're applying for a mortgage, a lot of my beauty clients are, getting houses, and they want those at least 2 years of tax returns, right?
Mhm.
So I just say we just need to file it. Like you can go back and file. Yes, it's going to cost you some money. Unfortunately, you may have a tax bill due if your business is profitable, but for us to be able to grow, again, this is that mindset shift of
Mhm.
going from like, oh, I don't want to file taxes. I want to live under the table, kind of live that lifestyle of like being off the radar. There's
Right.
no such thing of doing that as being a business owner, because when you see these bigger corporations, they're filing their taxes. They're filing their taxes. They're paying their taxes. Yes, nobody wants to pay taxes, but it's inevitable. You want to get qualified for a mortgage or a loan, you got to show some profit. If your business is profitable, you got to show it. With profit comes a balance too. So, I always just tell people like, I know it's very overwhelming and embarrassing, but I'd rather you do it now than to wait because it's not going anywhere. And the longer you wait, the more it's going to cost you, the penalties it's going to cost, and more just of a headache that's going to come with it. So I would just reach out to go ahead and get those filed.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
We saw a lot of that during the pandemic because
Hmm.
to qualify for a lot of the things you had to
You
have.
had to have your tax returns, and a lot of people didn't have their tax returns, so now they're, we're rushing to, come to my
Mhm.
firm and get 2, 3, 4 years of taxes filed to be able to qualify. And I'm like, yeah, you and 50 other businesses, plus the bookkeeping wasn't done, so now you got to go and do
Right,
back bookkeeping and all that stuff. So, yeah, I would just say you got to start somewhere, and I'd rather you just start now, get it organized together and filed versus it being in 2 years when you're trying to get that dream house. You know you're making the money. You know you can qualify for a mortgage, but you're not on books. You're not looking like a legitimate business to a
right,
lender. So if a lender comes to you and say, "Hey, you need $150,000 loan," they're going to check financial statements. They want to make sure you're doing your part because how can I trust you if you're not even filing your taxes? How
right.
can I trust you to pay this loan back if your taxes aren't filed? So you just have to get again out that mindset set of like hustle and bustle to like a legitimate business.
Right, right. So we've mentioned bookkeeper a couple times, but what kind of is the difference between a bookkeeper and an accountant or like tax
Hmm.
accountant?
So, an accountant, so a bookkeeper is somebody who, again, just keeps up with the finances. So you don't have to go to school for bookkeeping. You can kind of either learn on your own, you can take like courses for it.
Mhm.
And the actual accountant, we have to go to school for. So we have to go to school, we have to get licensed, a minimum of like a bachelor's degree to say that we're certified as an actual accounting. So there is a difference of the two. Bookkeepers, a lot of times they just do the financial data of keeping up with their finances, and that's it. An accountant can do audit, we can do regulations, we can do taxes, we can do bookkeeping. Um, but we're expanded a little bit more in the area where an accountant can be a bookkeeper, but a bookkeeper can't be an accountant per se.
Okay.
But yeah, it's just the different types of degrees and backgrounds that you have with that. So
Okay. And then tell us a little bit like the difference between like a CPA and an EA.
yeah, so a CPA is an accountant that has an additional license. So they took an additional test, just like a lawyer that goes to take the bar exam. The accountant has to take the CPA exam, to get licensed. And then an EA, is an enrolled agent with the IRS. So again, you don't have to go to school for it. So like you just have to take a test with the IRS to say you're a enrolled agent to be able to file taxes or handle some type of tax data for a client. So there is a difference between that two, where again, a CPA is still an accountant that just took an advanced test. An EA doesn't have to be an accountant. So it could be
Mhm.
somebody who, again, went to the IRS, took an exam with the IRS, they got their EA license number, and then they're able to re-register to do tax, file taxes and do data on a client's behalf.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. Very cool.
yeah.
And so one question that I see come up in a lot of um, groups when
Mm-hmm.
people are asking questions. Booth rental versus commission, kind of
Mm-hmm.
what determines which one is which. The
Mm-hmm.
thing that's been on my mind, and I don't even know if it's something that's in that classification
Mm-hmm.
or not, but it's like there's a lot of, it seems, booth rental salons that are supplying towels. And
Okay.
from what I have always understood and always seen and experienced, it's like
Mm-hmm.
somebody who rents a booth or
Mm-hmm.
somebody, on their own, an independent contractor, they supply everything that they need for that
Mm-hmm.
business, including towels. And so I know there's some gray areas and blurring of lines, but what
Mm-hmm.
can you tell us as far as, if I own a business
Mm-hmm.
and, I've decided to make it commission or I've decided to make it booth rent, what do I
Right.
need to know to kind of make sure I'm in that lane and not
Yeah.
continuing to consume it?
Honestly, it really depends on, this kind of goes into like the legal area, but it really depends on that first and foremost your state. Because like
Okay.
Pennsylvania, Philadelphia, it's actually illegal to do booth
Right.
renting. A
Right.
lot of people don't know that. I go into salons all the time and people are booth renting, renting out the little space, but they don't know that it's illegal. So it's just for one, you want to check with your city and state to see if you're even able to do this, or
Mhm.
if the person that's working in your salon has to be an employee. Because there's a difference between a booth runner, a commission person, and an employee. Like the booth runner, to me, what a booth runner is they supply their own stuff. They're just coming in, they're using their space, and they're paying you a rent weekly, monthly for that space. They provide their own supplies, they have their own clientele base, they have their own booking site. Um, that's what a booth renter is. A commission is more of like a contractor. So they come in, um you may supply the clients, or they may have their own clientele base, or maybe a mixture of the two. They bring in $100. If it's a 60-40 split, they get 40, you get 60, or they get 60, you get 40. And then they get a 1099 at the end of the year. Again, you want to check with your state and city, because there are different requirements of what you can set as far as parameters of having a contractor versus an employee. If you want to set their hours, if you want to do certain trainings, if you want them to keep up with certain standards in your salon, that's more on the employee side than the contractor side. And a lot of people I see um, are doing things where they want the person to be a 1099 person, but they're giving them requirements of a W-2 employee. Because a W-2 employee, you come in, you pay payroll taxes on it, whatever that is, their hourly rate is, that's before taxes, they get taxes taken out. But in certain states, like some of my clients in New York, especially like the no tech, like your certain trainings, you can't have them as contractors at all. Everybody has to be a W-2 employee, because you can't set their hours. I mean, yeah, you can't set their hours if you want them to be trained a specific way. If you want them to keep up with certain standards and the integrity of the business, that requires them to be an employee, not a contractor. So I personally would reach out to a lawyer in your area, just to make sure, because there is a lot of gray area of what you can and can't do. Um, but there is a difference between the two, because there's, like I said, there's the booth renter who pays you rent,
Mhm.
and that's just it. There's the commission person where you give them a 1099 at the end of the year, and then there's a W-2 employee where they get a W-2 at the end of the year. They'll be eligible for benefits, retirement, time off, training, things like that, where a contractor is just, here's the set amount, you pay me on whatever it is you bring in, or here's how much you get for the week, type of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, years ago, I was part of a group that was kind of the top, I don't know, 5% or so of salons in the country. And
Mhm.
they actually brought in someone from the IRS, and they're like, there's several things, that you need to know, about
Mhm.
the whole situation because, like if you're treating, like you say, that person who's technically a 1099 person
Mhm.
as an employee, with hours and regulations and providing certain things for
Mhm.
them, then they can come back and say, and this was years ago, so it's like I
Mhm.
don't know where the all
Yep.
of the legalities and the IRS stand, but they can reclassify them and say there weren't actually a 1099 person,
Yep.
actually an employee, and you owe all the back,
Payroll taxes on that.
right?
Yep.
Which
Yep.
is pretty like what,
Hmm. Yep. But a lot of people don't realize the way that you treat or require the person to work. The
Right.
main biggest thing is setting someone's schedule. That is like more on the employee side than contractor side. And a lot of people don't realize that. But yeah, the IRS can say you treated this person like an employee, but you paid them as a 1099. We're
Hmm.
going to tax them as an employee. Here's the payroll taxes that you owe for that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
little like what?
Uh-huh. So yeah, and this is a lot of people think that they shouldn't reach out to like an accountant or a lawyer as a new business owner, because it's like, okay, I don't have enough money, or I'm not ready to meet with them yet. But I always tell people, I'd rather you meet with an accountant and a lawyer now before it's too late, because it may be something that you're doing, 1099 employees setting up, that you don't know that you're doing wrong. And then down the line, it kind of catches up to us, versus You meet with us, we let you know, hey, yeah, you need to switch this, or here's how to set it up before you even hire somebody. Having that already set up, you don't have to have an accountant or a retainer every month. Like you don't need to do that. Like for me, I have financial advisory services where if you need help, you got questions, got a tax bill in the mail, you don't know what to do, it's not tax time, you can book a 1 hour session with me. We can go over your questions. That way, at least I know that you're doing the right things throughout the year and getting your questions answered versus waiting to tax time, trying to ask all these questions that has nothing to do with your tax return. Um, but making sure that you are on the right path. The same thing with the lawyer, getting set up with your contracts, your NDAs and different things like that. I definitely would recommend you doing that before you open your salon, before you hire somebody, because once it's too late, sometimes it costs you more, or sometimes you're penalized for it, and you may not have known it just because you didn't want to pay that accountant fee, or you didn't know that you needed to meet with the accountant.
Right. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
such good advice.
yeah.
Yes. It's like if you're starting, definitely make that investment,
Make that
make it part
investment.
of the money that you're putting together for
Hmm.
the business.
Yeah.
And it's like and I feel like if you don't have it, then are you ready to really start the business?
Right, right. Because like I said, it could just be a one time 2 hour meeting with an accountant, one time 2 hour meeting with a lawyer. But the information that you're going to get from us from this meeting is going to help you tremendously over the next, even if we don't hear from you for 2 years, you're like, okay, you're still a little bit
Mhm.
above my price range, or I can do, I'll, stick with, do my own bookkeeping and do my own taxes, which I don't recommend as a business
Right?
owner, but some people do. At least the information that I gave you can help you set up your business for the future versus you doing it and setting it up wrong and kind of gotta backtrack or get penalized for it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, this has been incredible. I think we did the gamut here. So is there anything else, I know you just finished up, that deadline for the
Yeah.
extension filing. It's like I have to admit
Yeah.
I was in that and then, quarterly first the last quarter of this year will be January 15th.
January 15th. Yeah.
Accurate. Okay. And so what do we need to do in this, this crazy busy holiday time to kind of make sure that we're on track for,
Yeah.
past,
2024
present?
tax filing. So right now, I would just say do a lot of catch up. So what we get at this point is a lot of cleanup for bookkeeping for the last year or two, depending on how far
Right.
you are behind. But just play catch up on your bookkeeping and keep up with your finances, reorganizing your budget. Because there should be no surprise when you go to your tax accountant and filing your taxes of knowing if you owe, if you don't owe. Because if you're keeping up with your bookkeeping, like I said, if you see that net profit on there, if your business is profitable, 9 times out of 10, you're gonna owe some money. So you should already mentally know, okay, my business has been profitable for the year. If I don't know exactly how much, I know that I'm gonna owe something, start putting some money up to the side. For that tax bill, reach out to a tax accountant to kind of see estimate wise, here's my last financial statement, how much am I going to owe for the year? So it's not a surprise when we go and actually file your tax return and then you go ghost and don't file your taxes because now you have a tax bill. But yeah, just right now you should be doing just like the cleanup, reorganization, setting up for 2025, your goals and your budgets for that. I know we have seen a big shift in the industry this year of like a decline in, services. A lot of people with inflation have been cutting back on personal care. So just kind of realigning our budget and our goals for the new year, but also making sure those finances are in order so we can go into a new year on a clean slate and not, scrambling around through 12 plus bank statements trying to figure out our numbers.
Right, right. Such good advice. So, yeah. So, is there anything else, you feel like we should know before we wrap everything up?
I think we talked about a lot. This is a lot of
That's
good
a lot.
questions. Yeah, but I feel like I said, the biggest part is just reaching out. A lot of people are just embarrassed or ashamed. I always just tell people I'm here when you're ready. I don't force anybody, to sign up when they're not ready. But I'm just knowing that the taxes, they're not going anywhere. Unfortunately, they'll still be there. But just knowing it has to get done. So if you are a person that are a couple years behind on your taxes and you've been thinking about it, I think now is the time to do it. I'd rather you get it done now. Yes, it may cost you a little bit, but at least that's one less heavy weight off your shoulders because it is a lot, to deal with at one time. I'd rather be 2 years behind than 5 years behind, right?
Right.
So, just reaching out to a professional, no matter if you need monthly services or just a one-time call, or just text prep, just reaching out and just get a feel for the person. Always just let, my clients know it's more conversation based. I want us to be able to communicate and you have that relationship. I don't want you to be afraid to let me know, like, hey, I didn't file for the last 2 years, or hey, I have been doing some things wrong. Okay, well, we know that. What are we going to do moving forward, type of thing.
Okay, that's awesome. So tell us how we can contact you.
Yep, so you can contact me. I'm on social media at Fulton's, Fultons accounting. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. And then if you have any questions, want to reach out, you can either on my Instagram page and my link tree, you can click the link there, or you can reach out via email, and that's info@fultonsaccounting.com.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. This has been
Thank you for
incredible.
having me.
Yeah, it's like we've got a real, ask your expert, ask the expert session
Oh,
today.
I love it.
One of first, but it's like we really did some brain picking today.
Yes,
So
yes,
we appreciate you. It's like we appreciate your dedication to this
no
industry
problem.
because it's like we, have an income, or revenue producing
Mm-hmm.
business,
Mm-hmm.
or industry. And it's like we don't always know
Know what to do with
how to
it.
do, what to do, and get the guidance that we need.
Yeah.
So appreciate you.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Like I said, I'm open to new clients. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. I'm always here, and no shame, no judge-free zone when you come and meet with me.
Right. Awesome. We need that. Yeah, so thank you so much, everyone
Thank
who's
you.
joined us live, everyone watching on the replay. It's like if you have any questions, definitely feel free to reach out to Brandi, follow her and see, what kind of things you can kind of pick up on as you go along. And I think she's just shared so much for us to be able to really shift our mindset and really take ownership of we are business owners,
Yeah.
as well as creative people. So I want to say thanks again. It's like we'll be back and with more, and plus there are more on our YouTube station, our channel, which is Miki Wright. It's MikiWright. It's like, and you can follow me there, and you can find all kinds of different resources. I did over 80 interviews with
Nice.
top experts in the beauty industry, and then we've continued on with more business, with more everything. So whatever you need, just check it out there at Beauty Superstars Talk on YouTube / Miki Wright. And I'm also a business funding expert. So it's like if you are looking for funding or money that you need to expand your business, to please reach out to me. It's like you can go to my site, which is biz funds funds the number 4 and the letter u.com, bizfundsforyou.com, and you'll be able to get all of my information, get some info as far as how it works, and I'm happy to talk with you. And you can get up to $20,000 same day.
Nice.
It's a very fast process, very simple process. And so look forward to talking to everyone soon and hope that you have a wonderful day. So keep being fabulous, keep reaching for the stars, and we'll see you
Have a
next.
good one.
Bye-bye.